hit was good. That's
Last night while I was sleeping, I dreamed about the age bomb. But while I went up there, I was caught the only man on the ground. 13 women, only one man in town. There was 13 women, only one man in town. It's funny as it may seem, the one and only man in town was me. 13 women, only one man in town. I had two gals fix me my breakfast, seeing that I was well fed. Believing you make one, sweeten my tea while another one wouldn't bread. Two gals made me my
Thank you, Earl. Please be seated. My name is John Mays. On behalf of those of us at Clearpath, I would like to welcome all of you to Clearpath for Veterans. I think you've been here long enough, even if it's your first time, to know this is a very special place. It's special because of the location, the view, the rusticness, the serenity, the peaceful setting. It's a very special place. But I hope by the time you leave, you'll know it's a very special place because of what we do here. And you'll hear more about that as this program continues. But especially, I think you'll find, I hope you'll realize that this is a very special place because who we do it for. We do it for the men and women who serve our country in the military, the people that give years of their lives to protect us and to keep us free.
I hope the press isn't here. They are. Act like you didn't see that. I'm thrilled to be here. I've looked forward to this since last year's first barbecue that we had that was so much fun. I'm going to speak really quickly. First, I want to thank Melissa and Melinda and Steve Kinney. I don't know, there's probably people here who don't know the history behind Clearpath, but I don't think it existed 3 years ago. And it's here now because those three people put their own money and their own time and their own love into it. And I hope somebody honors them one day for this. I don't really have time to work on that right now, but maybe I'll get back to it. But yeah, another beer. Who knows? We'll start a petition. But anyway, I'm thrilled to be here. This is a really emotional night for Doug and I, and the movers are at our house right now, and so I guess I'll take a sip of this beer if I start getting emotional. But I've cried in front of a lot of people, so if I cry now, it's really not a big deal. Don't want anybody feel uncomfortable. I guess the first thing I want to do is the reason we've gotten involved is because we want to simply thank those that serve this country. I don't pretend to know what it's like to be in the military, to serve overseas, to sacrifice being with family, your life, injury, all the difficult things that go along with being in the military. But I think it matters that we show up for them and say thank you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I also wanted to personally thank Fort Drum. The experience that Syracuse had there last year, the football team, I don't know if all of you know, but they got to go there for fall camp, and Fort Drum was unbelievably hospitable, and my kids and I got to go up at the end and watch practice, and just being able to expose my children to it was such a blessing. And I know that I was flying back from an award ceremony in New York where our quarterback Ryan Nassib, who just signed on with the New York Giants, had the great misfortune of getting in the seat right next to mine. Can you imagine? I don't think the only thing worse than having to sit next to your head coach would be having to sit next to your head coach's wife. So, and I talked the whole time. But what was interesting is I said to him, Ryan, there were, I think, 3 games that we really had to come from behind to win last year. It seemed like every game we were coming from behind to win, but that's probably just from my perspective. But and I asked Ryan, I said, like, especially the Missouri game, and I don't know what the last one was, that he really had to pull it out. Maybe it was Missouri. And I said, what are you thinking? You've got no time on the clock, and we've got to get it in the end zone to win. And he said, I go, how do you do it? And he said, Mrs. Marone, when we were at Fort Drum, I just thought, they told us never quit. And he meant it. He was on the field in the huddle, and he said, I looked at the guys and said, hoo-ah. Right?
Right.
And so we owe it to Fort Drum, the Pinstripe Bowl, and from a coach's wife who really lives and dies by wins and losses, and my children, thank you. You gave us a lot of happiness, and we owe you, and we're proud of you, and we're grateful to you. And I'll stop, but I wanted to say, and I'll start crying, to this community. It's not goodbye. We have loved being part of this community. The best gift I think I've gotten is that it was so great for my children, So thank you. We'll remain a part of it. We'll remain a part of Clearpath, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Steve Kinney is one of those 3 co-founders that Helen was talking about, and he's here to tell you a little more about Clearpath for Veterans.
Nice introduction, Howard. Thank you.
Steve Kinney, everybody.
Hey! All right, well, I got 5 minutes to tell you about everything about Clearpath that you want to know, so fat chance. Well, anyway, welcome to the second annual Red, White, and Blue Barbecue. You know me, I'm one of the co-founders here of Clearpath for Veterans. 2 years ago, when we started looking for a location to begin this newly conceived idea of a service dog training program, my 2 co-founders, Melissa and Melinda, brought me to see this place to see what I thought. And frankly, after I looked at it, I said, "You're nuts." That's what I thought. After all, sure, this old lodge had tremendous potential. Yeah, the land's beauty was serenity, and it was serene and awesome, and yeah, it absolutely spoke to us. But I figured there's no way that we could ever swing a place. We've got the Wingman program, a peer support program that pairs veterans who have successfully transitioned in the life cycle of a warrior with younger vets in need of this kind of knowledge and mentoring and assistance. We've got a monthly summit meeting now, which includes the Veterans Administration Hospital and other nonprofits and veteran-related organizations. And it provides the opportunity for vital crosstalk and collaboration that benefits all of our veterans. And I was asked to please put in a plug too for our area's leadership in both veteran programs and support. So I should mention that the Syracuse VA Medical Center was just rated #1 in the country for customer satisfaction. And they just opened up the new spinal cord injury floor. We also have Syracuse University. They're hosting the nationally acclaimed Institute for Veterans and Military Families, and they're very closely tied in with us. And also that Onondaga Community College has been recognized as one of the country's most veteran-friendly community colleges. So as John and several other people mentioned, we really deserve to be proud of what's happening right here in Central New York, especially as it relates to our veterans. Anyway, so back to the lodge. Well, we also host a monthly experiential education program specifically designed for wounded soldiers from Fort Drum, their traumatic brain injury clinic. We've hosted numerous retreats and conferences and meetings both for ourselves and for other veteran-related organizations. We've got a new housing assistance program for veterans that we just started. And lastly, we host benefits like today, where we get to showcase what's available to vets and their families, and where we hope to inspire other communities to follow in our footsteps. All right, so that's the lodge. Well, what else? Where else have we come? Well, 75 acres of property out here. Beautiful fields and woods containing a couple of miles worth of maintained walking trails. If you were here in the springtime, you'd be out there that's carpeted with white and red trillium and other spring wildflowers. There's been over 50 species of birds identified this spring by me. We got deer, we got a whole family of foxes. It's like a natural wonderland out here. It's really, that's part of the beauty and part of the draw. We've got a big fenced-in dog play area up on the one field that you can't see very well that'll eventually become our agility field, and a dog lure coursing field beyond that for those dogs that like to get into the chase sports. We've got more than 2 acres of strawberries out there, in case you hadn't noticed, and that is providing our first cash crop of this year, which, by the way, anybody who's still got enough, if you haven't had enough beer or bourbon, you can go out and pick your own strawberries for free afterwards. We've got a small wooded camping area down here with a donated camper for those who find the ground a little bit too hard to sleep on. We've got their picnic table now, or picnic area, with 6 new tables, barbecue grills, competition horseshoe pits, and space and plans for a children's playground in the near future. We've got our old tennis courts still sitting down here just begging for resurfacing and renovating into basketball courts. We've got this large hole in the ground over here that used to be an Olympic-sized swimming pool that is also begging to be transformed into something of lasting value, quality, and beauty. And we've got the old pool house right here, which we hope to gut and renovate into an art house to encourage the veterans' creative sides. And then lastly, all that space out in front when you drove in, we hope to have, sometime in the near future, a caretaker's house where someone would actually live on site to help take care of the place. So that's the building, that's the property, that's where we've come, but don't let me forget about the people, because they're the essential part of Clearpath. And right now, besides us 3 co-founders, we've got 8 executive board members and 1 new executive director, all of them volunteer. We've got 16 veteran advisory board members, all volunteer. We've got 3 paid and 4 volunteer staff members, 164 volunteers that come and do various types of work at various times, and this includes our licensed practitioners. And most importantly of all, over 1,300 veterans and family members have walked through our doors representing all branches of the service. Not too bad at all. And then, again, I remind you, in 2 years. And that's not all. That's really not our end game. That's not all the things I've listed here. There are other programs and activities and even personnel positions that are still part of our future vision. Perhaps one of the most ambitious concepts is for the construction of what we're calling a reverse boot camp, kind of a retreat center for veterans that would in short years. With the community support and involvement, including like that of the compassionate, caring, and generous people like Doug and Helen Marone, we have every reason to believe that we can do whatever we set out to do. And we hope that all of you will choose to continue to be a part of that. After all, we're community-based, we're privately funded, we need individuals like you all, in addition to corporations and foundations, to be part of this ongoing effort to make Clearpath not only the safe haven for veterans and families that it is, but also a transformational place. A place where men and women who have served courageously along with their equally courageous families can come and heal and find their own clear path in life. So, thank you very much for being here.
We had this plan. This plan was each speaker was going to introduce the next speaker. That's not working well. That's not working very well. Okay, who's next? Justin. Justin, where are you? He's behind me. Justin Miller. He is going to tell you about what Steve has mentioned, our Dogs to Vets program. Justin's going to tell you what it's like to be part of it. Thank you.
Because I had no real connection with my family. And he knew of my troubles about going into public and dealing with crowds. So you can imagine this is a huge ordeal for me. But he told me to get a hold of Clearpath here and to ask about the Dogs to Vets program and see if I qualified. Well, I called, and about, I'd say 5 weeks later, Steve called me back. I was in Colorado at the time, and when I got back to New York, I met up with Steve, and I can't remember if I rode in on my motorcycle or I rode my motorcycle. I rode in on my motorcycle, and I pulled in, and Melissa comes walking out, or Steve came out and met me, and then Melissa came walking out, and she gave me this hug, and I'm like, who is this woman that just comes up and hugs people? Like, I don't know this emotion. Like, what is this? Just to say, fast forward a little bit, we did some training and tried out one dog once I finally moved to where I was going and got a little bit settled, and that dog didn't work out very well. And not just personality, but physical. I just decided I was going to progress in who I am in my life. And without Dinah, I wouldn't be able to leave my apartment without there being very minimal people outside. I sure as hell wouldn't be able to stand out here and be here with all of you. I wouldn't be able to do much of anything at all. And has helped me progress enough to where I am now a college student. I'm going to move forward with my life. have to tell you, Ms. Marone, I'm going to contradict what you said because it's
Careful.
there is no careful with me. I'm very blunt. The two women sitting next to you and Steve, they're rewarded every day. They don't need recognition because they have everything they have right there. And I'm not sure who's supposed to speak after me, so I'll just say next speaker.
Thank you.
I brought this up. I'm keeping it. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name's Melinda Sorrentino. I'm one of the 3 co-founders, as you've heard. And thank you all so much for being here, and a special thanks to Doug and Helen for their ongoing support of our organization. And I have to say, the only thing better than looking out there and at the 15 bottles of bourbon on that table is looking out at this group of people. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much for all being here. After what Justin shared with us and what you've heard from others about Clearpath, I hope that you see a common thread in it all. This is a place and the people who put life into it, and it's all about what comes from here. And that can be an incredibly powerful way to help deal with wounds that are everywhere else. So to put it kind of simply, love is given freely here at Clearpath, and we hope that you see it and feel it all around you, especially today. From the time you walk in, whether you're a veteran, an active duty military person, family member, or community member, the sense of welcome and belonging can be overwhelming at times, and in a good way, of course. We hug just about everybody that comes through the doors. And although you can certainly feel the love around here rather readily, the trust that has been built among those who spend time here is something that is not immediately apparent. We all marvel at the incredible bond that exists between those that serves, and it serves as an inspiring example of the most true form of unconditional love and trust. And for those of you who have served, you know well that the trust between soldiers is unwavering and something that you can always count on. Very often after transitioning into what we call civilian life or regular life, trusting another is something that can be very difficult to do. And in the military, someone always has your back. And when you get out, that's not always the case. So this makes gaining the trust of the veterans that we serve very important to us. And it doesn't just happen, it's earned. It's earned by showing where your heart is and being honest and giving of yourself. We live, as John said, in a wonderfully supportive community and are blessed by so many great people who are willing to give of themselves generously. We'd like to take the opportunity now to thank a few of these very special people who have given in particularly generous ways. Every Saturday here at Clearpath, as Steve briefly mentioned, we offer a program called Warrior Reset, which gives veterans and their family members the opportunity to sample and experience alternative ways of dealing with pain, anxiety, and the stresses that are associated with their service. Each week, practitioners of massage, acupuncture, Reiki, and polarity therapy volunteer their time and talents so that the veterans that we serve have an opportunity to try things that are not available through traditional and VA sources. Nothing requires more trust to let someone put their hands on you. It's not something that everyone is comfortable with, particularly veterans. And today we would show, especially when it's something that's new and unfamiliar. So today we would show our appreciation for 5 of these practitioners who, through their giving generously of their time and freely of their hearts, have earned the trust of those who they work with. And some of them have even earned nicknames, and you know who you are, Mother Nature and Devil Hands. All right. The effects of their work can be summed up by the words of one veteran when he emerged from his first polarity session, and you also know who you are. I just love everybody. John. So just as you're able to feel the good energy of this very special place, the good energy of these people is just as palpable. And I'd like to call them each up. I'm going to call them up as a group up here so that we can present them with a token of our appreciation and so that you all know who they are and you can learn a little bit more about them. And they're all surprised, I think. They don't know that this is happening. So Cindy Hawks, I'd like you to come up. Cindy.
and I'm going to brag a little bit about each of them. Okay, first, Cindy, who I've known personally for over 15 years now. She's fixed a lot of broken parts of me, too. She's a licensed massage therapist, and as my son said when he was about 6 years old, the nicest person in the world, and it is true. Cindy has generously volunteered her time, her gentleness, and her gifted hands to our Warrior Resets, and her soothing and genuine personality is a wonderful way of putting people at ease and is a testament to her sincerity in every aspect of her life and work. She and her devil hands have a way of finding places that you never knew you had. Charlene Marks is a registered nurse. She's an Army veteran herself, and she also served in the Army Nurse Corps. She's a licensed polarity practitioner, and for those of you that, what's that? As her husband Bill said when he first came here, she does this thing. You might want to talk to her. It's a form of energy medicine that's designed to help the body heal naturally. And affectionately known as Mother Nature around here, Char is gifted in her work. And besides John's comment about loving everybody, we've heard a lot of other great things from veterans, including this is the first time I haven't had a headache in over a year. So all good stuff. She's also a member of the Suburban Garden Club, who is responsible for the donation and the planting of all the beautiful trees and shrubs and plants that you see around our building. So thank you, Char. And Barbara has been here with us since almost the very beginning. And at first it was just wanting to help in whatever way she could, and she has done that. But soon we understood that she had skills as a Reiki master and a certified healing touch practitioner, and they have become invaluable here. Both forms of energy work focus on empowering the body to heal itself, and Barbara's warm personality make her an important part of our Clearpath family. And Renee Lobdell. Renee is also, she's both a polarity practitioner and a Reiki master. She offers both of these to our veterans here at Clearpath. She has also been incredibly generous with her time and her energy. No pun intended with the energy thing, but she's been very generous with that. And we are so grateful to have her a part of our Warrior Reset Saturdays and also our family. So thank you, Renee. And last but not least, Linda. The word well-rounded is an understatement for Linda. Linda LeMay. She is, and get ready for the list, she's an MD in family practice, she's a Reiki master, a certified acupuncturist, and a yoga instructor. And something tells me she's a lot of other things too. All good, I'm sure. And some of these I didn't even know until we did a little research on her, a little biography today. So it speaks very much to the quiet way that she does her work here, and in a very meaningful way. So we appreciate that so much, Linda, really. Presenting each of them with a gift. It's a Clearpath plaque, and I believe I can get the name. I'm going to make sure I match the name. So you see I have 2 more plaques, which means it's not quite over. I've exceeded my 5-minute limit, but this is important. So I know there's a couple other people that we'd like to recognize. One I know is here because she's here basically all the time. The other one, I'm not sure, so I'm going to call, I'm not going to say her name. I'm going to let her get up here as soon as she knows who it is, and it probably will take 1 sentence. This woman has been with us literally since the very beginning, when she met Melissa at an event and felt the tug and pull just to be here with us, just to help us in any way that she could. And it's no coincidence that she is as strong, steady, and as reliable as her son, who serves now as a United States Marine. We have a little inside joke around here, and when I say this, she's going to know exactly who it is, that we should rename her respectfully Someone. Because we're always saying around here that someone needs to do this or someone needs to do that. So at this time, I'd love to call up Susan Goodfellow, before I cry too. Get up here. Got her hot pants on too.
Did you know first sentence it was true?
Yeah. Now she's got to go make sure the food's out on the table. But I think, I'm not sure that she was able to be here tonight. She had a fundraiser at her church as well. And this plaque is for Lori Schneider, who some of you may know is very close and very dear to our hearts. We have a special connection to Lori that really can't be explained. She's a Gold Star mother, and I think you all know what that means. She lost her son Kyle just about 2 years ago when he was serving in Afghanistan. And she is a remarkable person. She and her husband Rick started the Kyle Schneider Foundation, and they have turned the pain and grief of losing a child into something wonderful. And they have dedicated this foundation to helping veterans and their families. So although Lori can't be here tonight, I know she's here in spirit, and she and Rick may make an appearance later. I know that Kyle is here in spirit because we feel him here very often. And it's a wonderful honor to have she and Rick in our midst when they can be here. So thank you all very much. And announce the next speaker, my sister Melissa.
I'm not crying. For the vets around here, usually I am, so that's a joke. The executive director told me not to write anything down because I speak best from the heart. However, I have a very bad memory, so I had to write some of it down, but I do want to say it's really nice to see everybody here tonight. And I am Melissa Spicer, one of 3 co-founders here at Clearpath. For those of you that are visiting for the first time, I really hope that you see the value in our mission. We certainly feel it, and we hope you can see it. So, let me put my glasses on so I don't mess this up. I am not someone who has served in the military. I never really understood the military other than, like most of us, that while I was shopping, they were kind of fighting for us and keeping us safe. So what I will say tonight is that the military to me, and probably to most of you, is the ultimate form of service. Military service, what is service? I think service is give back. What do you give? What is your give back? So I have a tremendous amount of respect for those that serve in uniform, and it has honestly changed my life. I've done a lot of things in my life, struggled at a lot of different times in my life, had a lot of success in my life, but I think Abraham Lincoln said, until you have fallen to your knees, you have no place to go but up. And I had a really bad time in my life where I struggled, and really my success just was not filling the void. And then I met Steve, who said, what about this Dog to Vets program? And Steve shared with me a lot of things that happened to him as a successful person in the military, transitioned out, and the struggles that he was having. I just couldn't get my head around it. I didn't understand, how could you be so successful but yet be struggling? But then I said, wait a minute, hello. I was struggling myself. So he came at a point in my life that said, okay, let's build a team and let's get this thing moving forward. So to all of those here tonight that have served and do serve, thank you. All right, so after I read the book War and Soul, which I've probably passed out thousands of copies to people, I was introduced to the concept of a warrior's life cycle. And shortly after reading that book, I was offered another one called Once a Warrior, Wired for Life. And that latter book was given to me by a Marine, a combat Marine, served in Vietnam. And like so many of the Vietnam vets, he has taught me more than you can imagine. There's a paragraph in this book, and it reads, and I'm going to have to paraphrase it because I only have 5 minutes. It says this: boys, and of course now girls, with a normal viewpoint are taken from the fields, offices, and factories and put into ranks. They were made over and made to about face. To regard death and murder is sometimes order of the day. They are put shoulder to shoulder, they are entirely changed, and then we use them for a while, and suddenly we discharge them and ask them to make another about face. This time, they are asked to do their own self-adjusting with no officers, aid, or advice. They're no longer needed, so we scatter them into our communities without parades and speeches. Too many of these fine warriors are eventually destroyed, mentally, because they could not make the final about face alone. You're going to be surprised when you hear when this was written. It was written between World War I and World War II by someone named Smedley Butler Major, General of the United States Marine Corps in 1936. He was a two-time winner of the Congressional Medal of Honor. So, we move to one more story. This past Memorial Day, once again we talk about service, and in my mind, for the first time, I saw where service in the military crossed over into service to community. And it was defined by a World War II vet named Tom Blakely. Blakely is 93 years old, serves as a volunteer at the World War II Museum in New Orleans. Hope I said that right. Excuse me. Blakely was in the 82nd Airborne, and on June 6, 1944, at midnight, he jumped into Normandy behind the lines of the invasion. His orders were to take the bridge and hold it. They were told to pick one out, and he did. The bridge was held, and it kept the Germans from entering Utah Beach. But it came at an incredible price. Blakely describes in detail how he felt after killing that German soldier, and how he was haunted by the image, remembering details he much sooner forget. He told how he lived amongst his family for the 40 years after service, but was never part of his family. He had built up a firewall, a wall to protect his soul. For years, Blakely saw that German soldier in his nightmares that haunted him. 13 years ago, Blakely began volunteering at the museum. What started out as a 2 to 3 hour per week stint turned into a change in life for Blakely. After a year at the museum, Blakely said the nightmares stopped. And that was on CBS Morning News on Memorial Weekend, where people like me that have no life sit there and just play the television. But it struck me. Service can be defined in many ways. There's a handbook from a 12-step program that reads, "Service is an expression of unconditional love. Service makes no demands, exacts no payment, and has no expectations. Our warriors are some of the best teachers of service. Unconditionally, they do their duty. There have been many examples of warriors who have successfully transitioned and have become leaders in our community, defining a new service footprint. Clearpath for Veterans is a community-based organization that believes our warriors, if given the time to find their footing in their world outside of the military, can have a profound impact on our communities. This is not a new concept. We are not speaking anything that hasn't already been spoke of. But for our modern day society, it's something we have lost sight of. If each of us cared as much about our service footprint as we do about our carbon footprint, think how our community and world would be transformed. Clearpath is all about being that safe, non-judgmental place where warriors of all conflicts, and I say all conflicts, are welcomed and loved. What we lack in weather, our upstate community makes up for in hospitality, and I've said that before. In January of 2011, Helen and I came here as friends, blistering cold winter day, to see this wonderful piece of property as a potential home for our Dogs to Vets program. And like so many, she was certain that I had been doing some hardcore drugs. But she never felt short of being encouraging. And with very little known about where we were headed or what we were doing, Helen and Doug graciously gave us their time and support. And last year we launched our very first red, white, and blue barbecue. And Helen and Doug have moved, and I hope I get this right, 9 times in 13 years. And they've just unloaded their belongings and are still packing as we speak to find their new home in Buffalo, New York. Yesterday, in the full throes of moving, they once again graciously gave their time and support, and Doug and I spent 2 hours touring our recently rated #1, I'll say that again, rated #1 VA. And today we are here at our second annual Red, White, and Barbecue, and thanks to Doug and Helen, we have gathered as a community with representatives from Albany and Buffalo, all here to show our support and dedication as a united New York State Community Battalion, if I got that right. So, if possible, I'd like to have Helen and Doug come up. We're not going to do anything weird, I promise. And at the same time, I'm going to ask everybody that is military, either currently serving or have served, whatever. I'd like you to come up in the front here. Please don't be bashful. I know who you are. I will come and get you. Okay, bring it on in. There you go. Okay. So, this is what a community-based support looks and feels like. Warriors, that's all you guys, and women. As you transition from your military careers, I hope we make you feel like valued members of our community. You will become valued leaders and members of your community, and never forget that. Community. My team. Rather than ask ourselves, how many veterans do you serve with Clearpath? Why don't we, as the community, ask, how many members of our community serve our veterans? I think that's a better question to ask. For every veteran, there should be 20 people there to support that veteran. If we circle back to the statement made by Smedley Butler, the final about face for those leaving the military must come from community support. The importance of roots and a sense of belonging weave a tapestry of trust, love, and camaraderie. Whether you live in Syracuse, Buffalo, Fort Drum, wherever, and you feel like you have no place to call home, Clearpath is a place you can always call home. Doug and Helen, I'm not even going to look at them right now, because it'll just be bad. You are a part of our Clearpath family and our community. We all love and respect you and appreciate that you see the value in both the mission of the military and the mission of Clearpath. This is a grassroots community initiative that will resonate throughout the state and hopefully our nation. You are part of our family. Are you crying yet? You are part of our family with an ability to make a huge service footprint. And we'd like to give you this momentum of that service. And I'm going to have Sean Galloway bring that up. A couple of the other Clearpath vets come up.
I guess it's my turn, right? 5 minutes, and I have to go to the bathroom, so I'll be quick. You know, just to give everyone a little bit of perspective, at least from my standpoint, you know, I'm going to tell you 2 stories. One I touched on last year, which was really a life-changing story for me. And you know, sometimes you get yourself involved with something for the right reason, and all of a sudden you realize, you know, how it affects you and your family. And the people that were here last year heard some of the story. You know, my mother's only brother was a Vietnam combat veteran, and at the time, from what I'm told, you know, when I was 5 or 6 years old, all I did was, you know, stay in front of the news and watch what was going on. And My grandmother, who was our only son, would have me as a little kid write letters to him, and he would write letters back to me, which I didn't really see until probably about 15, 20 years ago. And I'll never forget it. All he kept asking for was, Mom, just make sure you send toilet paper. But when he came back, what I thought was my hero really struggled. Struggled with our society and the way they were treated. Struggled with drugs. Struggled with a marriage. Wound up stealing from my parents and my grandmother, being kicked out of our house, fist fights with my dad, embarrassment with me in the community, and living a life ashamed. And when I got involved with Clearpath, I realized that he wasn't at fault. We as a society and our communities were at fault. Because he'd never transitioned him coming back from an awful war. And I think that's what's important. I laugh all the time. I think about, being up here. I stand here as, whatever the hell, head coach of Syracuse or head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and really how meaningless that is to me. Rather than standing up here and being a representative of someone that serves the people that, fight for this country, the men and women, and that give us the ability and the freedom to live in this great country. One that I think many of us take for granted on the outside. And a lot of times I think that, if you're in a position of leadership, and people will claim that I am, and I understand that we have to be the ambassadors. Just because I was at Syracuse University and the people that were close to me know how much time we spent, educating our players. Obviously, the Fort Drum experience, I can't, I don't even think I can put into words what that meant for not only our players, but, our coaches. And people thank me. They're like, oh, Coach, I really appreciate, what you did for those guys at Fort Drum. I really appreciate what you do. Shit. I didn't do anything. Those people are the ones that did everything. And to see those young men, our student athletes walk away, even at the professional level, I made sure Memorial Day passed, and, I made sure that our professional athletes understood, what our men and women of the military do to give us the ability to do what we do, to have families, to feel safe. And I think it's a burden on all of us. And I think the reason why Clearpath is so important is that, Helen and I, both understand we get solicited quite a bit. And there's a lot of great organizations, nationally. But what better organization within your own community? When you think about transitioning, you think about people that have gone through training, that have structure, that have discipline, that have a love for this country, that have so many attributes. Why wouldn't we? The question is, why wouldn't we as a community train them to transition back into our own community to become leaders and take us to places where we can't take ourselves? And that's an unbelievable asset. It's one that we haven't used for so long. And when I think of America, and I mean this, when I think of America, I think of the people that serve our country. God bless you, and you are America. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Great. Shaking us off. One piece of business, the pig will be on display shortly. That's important. But we have a tradition here at Clearpath, and again, you'll have to excuse my ignorance for those of you in the military. I watched them set up one day the memorial with the boots. Mark, what's that called? The Soldier Memorial. I could not walk by that for a solid week, and it's still in that same spot. So before we go and enjoy our pig and enjoy ourselves today, I would like to just take a moment and have a moment of silence for everybody to have a time to remember those that are not with us today. Okay. Thank you. And for anybody here that would like to play horseshoes or walk the trails, we encourage you to do so. There's 75 acres. You need to go get lost, go get lost. Have fun. Thanks for coming tonight.
Before we go enjoy that 160-pound pig, I want to put a special thank you out there to Dinosaur Barbecue, who generously, Larry Luckwell, John Stage, all of those guys over there generously donated most of the food for tonight's event and also sponsored Joe Whiting's appearance. So thank you to you guys.
Yeah, well, the hit was good. That's